questions for you in a second. All right. Yo, so we're here with Reseller Rockefeller and Ty Blunt, chit-chatting about some cool stuff. We've been talking about furniture real fast. Do you do mid-century modern furniture? We got a friend out in Phoenix that does a lot of mid-century modern. He makes a slang.
Yeah. Mid-century modern stuff is extremely hot right now. Certain styles are better than others, but anything mid-century modern, anything that's teak, anything that is bamboo, teak and bamboo right now is really popular. You know, I've always been a big fan of mid-century modern stuff, no matter what it is, furniture, you know, like home decor items, anything mid-century modern. It sells for me almost as fast as I can list it, you know. And when it comes down to furniture, since we're on that topic, I sell if it's an item that I feel is valuable enough for me to actually personally resell it instead of like liquidate it to one of these thrift stores, then I'll bring it back to my warehouse, I'll clean it up, and then I'm going to list it locally. Lots of these bigger items, unless it's a really expensive item. So for instance, I purchased an estate about a year ago, and I got a wicker dinette set. I remember when you were doing the video of your estate, I had asked you if it was a fix and read because it looked identical to a fix and read. If you look them up online, fix and read makes the bamboo style / like wicker furniture. And that stuff can go up into the thousands. And so I ended up purchasing an estate that had a set of that in there. And I ended up piecing it out on eBay. I sold each chair for like, I think it was like $1,200 shipped. I sold the table for like $2,000. I sold the buffet for like $3,000. I pieced it out and I ended up making like 12 grand off of one fix and read dinette set. And so, yeah, I mean, mid-century modern stuff is really hot. Definitely.
We had sort of the same thing. It was a Hans Wagner chair. I had it in one of my videos. We sold a chair, 4 chairs for $57.50 out to Japan. Like, and we had people like bidding on it like constantly. Dude, like, I wish I could find only mid-century modern. That shit is so expensive, ridiculously expensive, man.
Oh yeah, and you'll be shocked how many people don't understand. I mean, even nowadays, I learn stuff, you know, about mid-century modern that I didn't know before. But I've been to plenty of estate sales that are, you know, ran by estate companies, and they don't understand unless it's like bluntly obvious that it's mid-century modern. They will price stuff really cheap because it may be some. You got to understand that some mid-century modern stuff might not have that look of mid-century modern. So you need to kind of do a bunch of research and learn the different brands, learn the different manufacturers, you know, mid-century modern stuff that's made here in America or made in different countries, you know, like there's all different kinds of furniture, and it kind of ranges in prices and stuff, depending on where it's made, depending on when it's made, depending on the kind of wood. That's a very, I think that the most valuable lesson, especially when it comes down to furniture, is learning how to identify wood. And it took me years. I'm still learning still to this day. It's been one of the most hardest things that I've ever had to learn, to just how to look at a piece of wood and immediately tell what kind of wood it is. But it can save you and it can make you a lot of money in the reselling business. I mean, even small stuff. You know, I watch tons of resellers on YouTube where they do the haul videos where they're going out and doing yard sales. And I'll see people pass up an item and I'm like, oh my God, that was a, you know, I don't know, I can't think of any woods right now off the top of my head, but like, you know, just a really good item made out of wood, some kind of dark maple or, you know, red cherry or something that's really valuable and, you know, very odd or something. And most people just don't look at those kinds of items as being valuable. You know, that's one thing that I'm going to try to do with my channel is I'm going to try to educate those that are actually serious about reselling and want to learn different things other than your normal stuff that's being taught on the internet. I want to teach people things that are just kind of different. You know, like I'm a big believer in stuff that is, the more awkward an item is and the more weird an item is, the bigger it's going to sell for. I have been to estate sales and yard sales where I have found items that people looked at me and was like, why are you buying it? And I'm telling people, you know, hey, this is a piece of trench art made, you know, in like the 1930s by some soldier. Literally, you know, trench art is a popular thing that soldiers back during the wartime would sit. They would sit in the trenches and they would, I guess what they call it, like doodling or kind of carving something or making something out of nothing. And those items are extremely popular. You know, I got a piece of trench art right here. This is just a little handmade knife, and it's made out of a World War II bullet shell. And the knife is made out of it looks to be a handle to a fork. And this was made, you know, around World War II. But most people would just look at that and think that, you know, it's just a little handmade knife. Most people probably wouldn't even be able to identify it and be able to date the bullet to World War II. But yeah, this is a World War II trench knife. It's about 6 inches. I picked it up at a yard sale for $1. And you know, it's a $50 knife. But, you know, it's weird stuff. I'm attracted to unusual items, weird items, but I'm also knowledgeable enough to buy video games and clothing and electronics. And, you know, I honestly tell everybody that to be the most successful in reselling, you need to learn a little about a lot and become the kind of person that can go to a yard sale or an estate sale, and no matter what, you're going to be able to find stuff. And don't limit yourself. Don't restrict your business. The people that are focusing within a niche, you can make it work. But if you're going to focus with it, if I were to focus on clothing only, then I would become the absolute go-to person for clothing. You would have to master the clothing niche for it to be as successful as, you know, I would want it to be. I would have to master that niche. But like I said earlier in the video, there has to be, you know, you have to have a passion for the business. And if I did just clothing or if I did just electronics, I think I would get burned out after a couple of years. So, you know, I want to be able to buy and sell anything and kind of have the window wide open and not restrict my business and be able to do anything. You know, I buy wholesale sometimes. Sometimes I'll go to an auction and I'll just see a good deal. You know, I'll see 10,000 light fixtures and they're selling them at, you know, 30 cents a piece. All right, let me buy those. You know, it just all depends. You know, I think a well-rounded reseller should be open to learning about anything and everything, and also buying and selling anything and everything.
Dude, completely agree, man. It's like if I only did clothes and I saw $1,000 piece of coming out, would I be like, nah, I'll only buy clothes. I'm not gonna buy $1,000 thing for $20, you know?
Exactly. That's a good point. That, you know, I think that some people just don't even look at it that way. It's like I tell people, like, all right, if you're at an estate sale and you pass up a diamond ring or a Rolex, and you tell yourself, well, I'm not going to buy it because I don't know enough about jewelry, you know, or I don't know enough about gold, or I don't know enough about silver. Well, if you're in the reselling business, I think you should become familiar enough, because why would you ever want to pass up real gold or real silver? You should at least have enough information or enough knowledge to be able to kind of somewhat identify, you know, if something's real or not. You know, to me, it seems like common sense. You know, I think that there's tons of resellers out there that are actually restricting their business, and they're not making as much as they could be making by focusing on just one niche, or not believing in themselves. I hear a lot of resellers say that they don't want to mess with anything else because they just don't know enough about anything else. So it's like, well, why don't you start learning? You know, when I was young, my dad, when I was about 13, my dad used to always tell me, every day, focus on learning something about one different category. So one day I would pick glass, and I would research glass, and I would learn everything there is about vintage glass, new glass, mid-century modern glass. I would learn the different makers. I would learn how to tell the different, designs and patterns. Then the next day, I would choose a different item, say watches or Zippos or anything. I mean, it could be anything. And that's what I did for years. And it actually really, really worked. And that's why I became so versatile. You know, I know a little about a lot. And so I'm deadly when it comes down to going to a yard sale or an estate sale. You know, I can pretty much find stuff no matter what. And I think that's a good quality in the reselling business.
True. Well, so we talked a little about silver plated stuff. What exactly do you do with that? I'm so interested because we get so much silver plated stuff, and I sell it to the refinery for like pennies on the dollar sort of thing.
Yep. So let me explain something to you. So the refinery pays a certain percentage for that kind of stuff, right? And obviously there's tons of different kinds of silver plate. You know, there's stuff that's hollow. There's stuff that's filled full of like plaster, that has the weighted plaster. I don't know if you've ever broke any of those open, but some of the bigger pieces, if you shake them, you can kind of hear something in the bottom sometimes. That will be like a plaster type material. There's different ways that there's silver, that silver's made. Sometimes it's nickel and silver. Sometimes it's nickel, copper, and silver. So it's a learning curve because you have to understand your metals. But once you understand your metals and you understand the method to separate the metals, it's really simple. So I'm not that good at teaching it because it's a really complex, kind of like chemistry lesson. But there is tons of videos on YouTube that show you, not only what you need to separate the metals, but the method to separating them. There's different acids and things of that nature that you can buy. But it's fairly simple. I do it pretty quick. Like I can do, the last time that I did it was I probably had maybe 20 items. And I'm talking about big items. Like I had a serving platter that was like 2.5 feet long. And it was sterling silver plated over like a nickel / copper. I had tons of like pitchers and candlestick holders and just stuff that I picked up, at estate sales for nothing. People were just giving this stuff away. And what I do is I collect it until I have enough to make it worth melting, because the process of separating the metals takes about, an hour or two, depending on how much you're making. But, the last time I did it, I had a huge bin full of, different mixed silver items. And altogether, I ended up getting like 6 pounds, 8 pounds or something of pure silver. And then once I get that, I'll make it into a bar. My bars are particularly ugly because the mold that I bought is just a cheap mold, but who cares? Who cares what it looks like? But I did buy a mold. It cost me like $40, and I have my own stamp because that's a big thing. After you get done making it into a bar, you want to be able to put your name on it somehow, because you don't want somebody to steal it later on, and it's pretty much unidentifiable if your name isn't on it. So, but then what I do with that is after I get done melting it, I'll just keep it. Silver isn't worth enough for me to sell it right now. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I look at silver as an investment. I'm going to hold on to all of my silver because based on my research and thousands of others out there, predictions are silver will go up again, and it's going to go up really high next time. And so if I'm sitting on a hoard of silver, when the prices skyrocket like gold did in 2011, 2012, 2013, then I'm going to be sitting on a fortune. Now, I could sell off my silver right now. I could sell off my gold too. And I'm going to make money because, you know, I'm going to have, compared to what I have in it, I'm going to make money. But, you know, I'm not hurting for money. So I'm just going to hold on to it, and I'm going to be the smart person and wait for the perfect time to sell off my silver and to sell off my gold. So, you know, but yes, I think that if you want to focus on doing something like that, like, you know, making your own or melting down your own gold or separating your own silver, I highly recommend it. Not only is it fun, I consider it to be fun. I like doing it. I think it's, I don't know, I think it's just cool to sit there and mess with it and melt it down and watch the metals separate and all of that good stuff. So, but I think it's beneficial. You can make lots of money doing it. I know plenty of resellers that literally all they do is travel the country, going to yard sales and flea markets, buying up all of the sterling silver plated items, sterling silver items, and they make quite a bit of money doing that. You know what I'm saying? They bring it back here, they melt it down, and you know, they buy and sell silver. I mean, it's a huge business out there. So, you know, I always wanted in on that business ever since I was a child. So once I learned how to do it, it kind of becomes second nature. I also buy a lot of silver though too. You know, people in my town, you know, I usually buy gold and silver almost on a daily basis. I mean, it's pretty much almost every day I'm getting a call about somebody wanting to sell some kind of silver or gold. You know what I'm saying? And as long as you can pay a little more than the pawn shops, which usually isn't hard. Pawn shops don't pay that much. You know, they are not paying much at all for silver or gold. So usually I can always beat their prices and steal all of their business.
Interesting. Side question. We'll get off this topic, but I've been thinking to try to get more real estate business. So you buy and sell you liquidate estates and just buy off estates. Do you have like a real estate agent that you go to? Like, yo, this guy sells real estate. Because I've been trying to. That's my next play is to go into other estate companies. Like, yo, let me sell. Give me your let me be your real estate contact. Is that a good idea or not?
Are you talking about for the house or for the actual contents?
For the house. You just so like, let's say you sell that, and I'll give my card. Like, yo, every time you have a house, you buy a house, give him my card, give the person my card, and see if I can get some business off that. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you talk to most of the estate liquidation companies, they usually already have somebody that they always recommend. But it's not. I think it's worth going out there and talking to them. Every time you're at an estate sale, try to meet the owner, whoever is owning the company, and explain to them that you're looking to do some real estate and also networking in this business. So what I would do is I would say, here's my business card. Every time you guys do an estate, give them my name and number, let them know that I'm interested in doing the house or getting the contract on the house. And also, I do estate liquidations, but I don't do it as much as you. So if I ever get any estates, I'll pass them on to you if it's something that I'm not interested in. So it's almost kind of like you're trying to trade. And so they'll look at it as more beneficial than their other person that they're not getting anything from. So that's a good way to get your foot in the door by saying, you know, I'll recommend people to your estate company. You recommend people to my real estate company. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. And then what you say you do buyouts, right? What do you normally like? Let's say, how do you appraise the buyout, and what do you pay, like? How do you generate the price you're going to pay for it? Because like I know like you said before, the liquidation is more between 25 to 40%. Yeah. And some of these guys that we have are so small that they call us that it's not worth our time liquidating their house. Exactly. So like, how do you price that stuff? And then we talked about the furniture, but like, how do you price it and find the best price for both of you guys?
So So basically, obviously it's going to be different for everybody, but just to kind of sum it up is basically what I do is I'm going to walk through the house. So first I want to get an idea, which sometimes it can be difficult to get an idea of what they value their contents at. But most of the times, these people have already put thought into it and they kind of have a number in their head. So usually what I do is the first thing that I do is I start asking them, questions. Why are you selling the estate? Also, you want to find out if the house is on the market, because that makes a big difference. If a house is on the market and they already have a contract on it, that means they have a deadline on when this stuff has to be out. So that is a perfect, it's a perfect way to strategize yourself into a position to get the contents for extremely cheap. So you want to make sure that you ask these questions up front to get a good sense of, where they're at and how much time you're going to have to get the stuff out of the house. So after I do that, usually I ask them, what are you valuing the contents, at? And try to get them to tell me a number. So say they say $50,000. So then I'm going to walk around the house. And obviously, I'm not going to go through every box, every drawer, every item. It's just going to take too long. So what I do is I go around and I try to find the big ticket items. The items that I can visually see and immediately add up. And then after I'm done, I want the big ticket items to add up to almost what I'm willing to pay for the house. So if I walk around the house and I add up all of the big ticket items and it only comes out to be $25,000, then I'm going to be offering them roughly somewhere close to $25,000. I'm going to start low and go high. And the reason I do it that way is because all of those big ticket items that I've seen, I know for a fact that I'm valuing them somewhat correctly based on my knowledge. So that means all of the other little stuff that I don't see is only going to be gravy on top. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
And, you also got to, there's, experience. After a while, you're going to become more experienced. You're also going to become better at talking to people. And I think that has it plays a huge role in this business, because when you're buying somebody's estate, not only are you doing them a service for buying their estate, but there's other things involved. So, one of the biggest things that I ask people is, do you want everything gone out of the house? Even the unwanted items like trash. So I'm in the estate business. I'm not in the business for hauling trash. You see what I'm saying? So, yes. So people need to understand that when you buy an estate, out of all of the contents in the house, about 70% is going to be worth reselling or selling or liquidating to the thrift stores or whatever. But there's going to be a portion that's just going to be trash. Sure. And so if the owners of the house say, yeah, we need everything out, even the trash, then you need to make sure that you explain it to them in a way that makes sense. I always tell people, look, I'm willing to take everything away, but you have to understand that I don't really deal in, I don't haul trash off. So it's actually beneficial for you, and you're going to be saving money because now you don't have to hire a cleanup crew or a hauling crew to come in here and take all the trash away. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. It makes it a one-stop shop, and exactly. As long as you get a good price on it, then you're happy with it, and you'll deal with that and call somebody and pay the price.
Exactly. Because I'm going to tell you right now, in this business, the more steps that you make, the sellers have to take. So, like, say if somebody's selling their estate, and you come and you make them an offer for the estate, but then you tell them you're only going to be taking the stuff that's actually, worth taking. In their head, they're automatically thinking, well, after you leave, then I'm going to have to make another call and get somebody to come in here and pick up all the rest of the junk. So they're more opt. They're probably going to think, yeah, let me get some more offers and see if anybody else is willing to come do it all. People are lazy. People don't want to make phone calls. People don't like interacting with people. People want things to be simple, and they also want things to be less stressful. That's one thing that I've noticed over the years is I always try to overachieve. And, you know, I want to make sure that the people feel like I'm not only being respectful, but that I'm going above and beyond to make sure that I do right. Because we might not understand it, but there's reasons people sell their houses. You know, the items that we're buying sometimes are most likely their grandparents or their mothers or their fathers, or it could very well be their husbands. I just bought an estate a few months ago from a woman, and it was her husband's. Her husband passed away at like 48 years old. And the whole reason that I ended up getting the deal was she actually hired a company to come do the estate liquidation, but she said she didn't like the way they were treating the items. So some companies will come in and they'll pick up an item because they think it's trash, but that woman don't think it's trash. Her husband made it for her on her 22nd, wedding anniversary. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't think resellers think about that enough. They don't understand that even when you're at a yard sale, even when you're at an estate sale, you don't really know why somebody's selling an item. You could walk up to an estate sale and you could pick up an old quilt, and you're looking at an old quilt and you're like, hey, how much for this quilt? And they say $100, and you throw it down because that's just an outrageous price. But then she doesn't you don't understand that it might have been her great grandmother that used that quilt all during the Depression. She handmade it, and it meant a lot to her. You know what I'm saying? So maybe the next item that you picked up at the yard sale could have been something really nice, but now you've done ticked her off. Now she's pissed. You see what I'm saying?
No,
Some resellers don't think about that. You know, there's resellers out there that honestly, that they just kind of, they go around with this arrogance about them, and they're not polite. They're not respectful. They think that since they're a reseller, that it gives them a right to be kind of, pushy and arrogant and kind of know-it-all. And those are the kind that, they're just not going to become successful. You know what I'm saying? They're just, especially if you're trying to build a business, like you're trying to build something that is going to be sustainable, something that's going to last in your local area. You know what I'm saying? That's the same with me. I'm trying to build something that's going to be here forever, but some resellers are not trying to do that. So to them, they don't care. They're just trying to make money now and ride the wave as long as they can, but they're not trying to build something that's going to be around forever. And that's something that you have to start thinking about too, because especially in the real estate business, everything is about word of mouth, your relationships, and previous customers. It's always about that, even in the real estate and the reselling business.
They're both the same thing in my point of view, right? You're reselling the house in a sense, right? It's everything's about word of mouth and like trying to get the best, be the best as you possibly can be. One thing I found was really interesting was so I kind of like put a feeler out there. Like I made like a fake estate sale online, and I had people call me, and I was like, "What do you guys do with leftover?" "Oh, we donate it." So people are just doing liquidations, and then if nothing sells, which it could be multiple reasons. One, maybe you price it too high, right? One, maybe there's no one in that local area that wants to pay for that, even though it's priced right. Or two, maybe no one just found it, right? No one knew it was worth money. And people are just donating the rest of it. I think that was so interesting that people were just going to get rid of stuff that's worth something. And because they just want to be like done with it. Okay, I made my cash for the weekend. I'm done with it. Like kind of like screw you sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I see that a lot here too. Even some of the estate companies will do that. Even the ones that are actually businesses, they will donate the items after they're done with their estate sale. And most of the times it's not really good stuff, but the estate sales that are private estate sales that the families are doing themselves, those are where you can find good items at the end, because, you know, stuff might have been overpriced, just like you said, or it might have been tucked away and somebody just didn't find it. I've always been, you know, I've always been on the hunt to always try to get a hold of those people before they donate it. If I see an estate sale, usually I will always ask them, you know, hey, usually the first thing I ask is if they're a business or a company. And if they're a business or a company, then I don't even ask them. But if they're private sellers holding an estate sale, then I always tell them, look, you know, I'm a reseller. I'll either buy your leftovers, or if you're going to donate them, you know, I can write you a donate slip, or I could just buy the items from you, whichever one. I mean, it doesn't really matter. You know, obviously that, you know, getting that large of amount of stuff, if you don't have the right size warehouse, it can build up fast. But like I was talking about way earlier, if you have the right connections, you should be able to go in there, look through everything, and then immediately call your connection up, tell them to come over here and make you an offer on everything. And you literally bought the leftovers, you picked out all of the good stuff, and then you washed your hands and stepped away. And that's how I like to do things. I like to keep things really simple, you know, sweet, simple, and easy. And I think I've made it that way because, you know, I've made good contacts. And one of the biggest things one of the biggest tips I could give you is the first few times that you sell stuff to these people, like the thrift store owners, give them good deals. Let them get some good stuff. And I swear to you, they will come every time you call them, no matter what, from here on out. Okay. Because they always are thinking, oh, well, he might have some really good stuff this time. Or, you know, last time he didn't see that in this box was a stereo. You know, they might not have, they don't know if you're going through the items or not. They look at it as, you know, they're getting sellable merchandise for their thrift store at a really low cost. But the way that we look at it as, we're making money, but we're also making money because we don't have to touch it. We don't have to store it. We don't have to move it. We don't have to do anything. So I'm willing to take a little bit of a loss. You know, obviously I could sell all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? I could post it locally. I could take it to the flea market, or, I mean, I could have my own yard sale. But over the years, I've just learned that it's much easier to just let it go cheap and get it out of there and move on to bigger and better things than to hold on to that little lower end items. It's just not worth it.
No, definitely. And last question, how do you get like more contact, or how do you get more estates? Do you use it like estatesale.net? Do you pay for that like subscription? Is there anything that you do to get more, just mass amount of estates?
Yeah, I do a couple of different things. I do tons of advertising on like Facebook, Craigslist, a couple of different local estate company, like estate websites where you could list your business, word of mouth. But I also do a lot of business with real estate companies. So just last week, I made a new contact with a woman that works for Keller Williams. She's a big realtor in my town. I found out about her from another friend of mine who suggested that she was the best at selling homes. And obviously, if she's buying and selling a lot of houses, or she's, you know, doing really good in the real estate business, then she obviously, you know, is coming across houses all the time. And the one thing that realtors always come across is people that are looking to sell their house. And then what do when they want to sell their house? They usually want to liquidate their estate, or they want to downsize. So I'm always going to real estate companies and always letting them know who I am, what I do. And if they ever come across an estate that needs to be liquidated, or people wanting to just sell some items, to just give me a call. And honest to God, I get tons of phone calls just from that alone. But, you know, I get tons of phone calls from just regular advertising. About once a month, I'll do a flyers. People don't think about flyers as a big way to advertise now because of social media, but you'd be shocked to believe how many of these neighborhoods have tons of like retired people, people that don't really, you know, they're not really on Facebook. They're not really on Craigslist. They're 80 years old. They're in a community, living in a $2.2 million mansion. You know, they don't care. But if they get a flyer on their door, then it rings a doorbell in their head, thinking that, you know, last spring they wanted to clear out their attic, but they never got a chance to do so. And it kind of reminds them, and then they call me. You see what I'm saying? So about once a month, even though, you know, flyers is a very old way of advertising, it's still a very vital resource in my business. I pass out, I mean, last month I probably passed out like 2,000 flyers. I paid a couple of, you know, like teenagers, but you got to make sure that you find people that you can trust, because I learned the hard way. I was paying some teenagers and they were just throwing them in the trash. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that you know the people, or maybe they're friends of the family or something. But yeah, you just pay people and just get those flyers out there. Every time I pass out flyers, the weeks afterwards, I get flooded with phone calls. I go on private pics. I buy estates. You know, the best thing that I love to do is private pics. I love it when people call me and they say, you know, I have a warehouse, or I have a old barn full of items. You know, come out here and tell me if you want to buy anything. Those are the kinds of pics that I love, because those kinds of people, they're not intentionally, they haven't made the decision to intentionally sell something. It's just that they seen my advertisement and they thought that maybe I would be interested in some of their stuff. And that's where I find most of the really good items, you know, just going on private pics.
No, definitely. Yeah. Because like, if there's anybody at a garage sale, either they looked it up or they have a higher price. But like, if you're on a private pick, you can get some fantastic things with dirt.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I mean by understanding the reselling business. You have to understand the resellers or the seller's state of mind. When somebody premeditatedly decides that they want to sell their items, they're going to put in an effort to do some kind of research, or at least think about it. You know, they're going to think about, well, we paid $500 for our dining room table. Remember last year, honey? So we should at least be able to get $200. But when people call you up and they just say, hey, you know, you want to come out to my property, or do you want to come to my storage unit? I got some items. I seen your advertisement. Do you want to come out and see if you want to buy anything? They're not really thinking about selling stuff. They just seen your ad. And then when you come out there, you start to find items that you want, and then you negotiate. And then you're able to get really good deals.
Definitely. Interesting.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, I love reselling. Honest to God, I love it. It's you know, it's something I love doing. I enjoy it.
It's all about, for me right now, it's all about just trying to building something massive that can, like you said, last for a while, if not a lifetime sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, eventually I look at it like I can build it up, and I actually sold one of my eBay businesses. I don't really talk about it on my YouTube channel, but about 6 years ago, I had an eBay business, pretty much the same as what I have now. And I met a guy that was going to get into the reselling business, and instead of taking the long road, he wanted to take a shortcut. So he ended up buying about 6,000 active listings and my eBay store and all of the whole entire thing. And, you know, it actually, you know, it set me back because I had to start from scratch. But it was a good thing because I revamped my entire business. I was able to kind of start over. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest mistakes I ever made in the reselling business was we call it the buying bug. So people around my area, we call it catching the buying bug. And it's where you go out to yard sales and estate sales and you start buying items, even though they're good deals, they're just not smart deals. Mm-hmm. And you start buying good deals instead of smart deals. And you start accumulating so much, but you're not, you know, you're not profiting from it because it's either getting stored away in a pile or it's just so low end that your profit margin is very, very small. You know, that's one of the big reasons why I don't do a lot in clothing, because the profit margins in clothing is really small, and the amount of volume that you have to do to make your business like scalable or successful is so much work. You know, these people on YouTube that are having, you know, really good income from reselling clothing, they have like 8,000, 10,000 items.
So many.
They have to ship out literally 60, 70, 80 items a day, sometimes even more than that. So I always look at those businesses and I look at the numbers that they're making. You know, they're making $1,200 a day, $2,000 a day, whatever they're making. Some of them are more than that. And then I look at what I'm making, but then I look at my average sale price, and then I look at how many items I sell in a week or a day. And my numbers are 5, 10 times more than they're making, but I'm selling a fraction of the items.
Yep.
To me, that's the kind of business that I want to be in. I don't want to be in the business if I have to do slave labor 10 hours a day.
Sure.
Literally, I don't work 10 hours a day. I work maybe, without counting sourcing, I work like 3 hours, 4 hours a day at my computer.
Yeah.
Now, sourcing is a totally different thing, but I mean, honestly, I don't count that working. I mean, obviously I have to, but really it's just a part of the business and it's fun. I make it fun. I make sure that I have a good time doing it, you know?
It's the best part. It's the best part of what we do is going out to those garage sales.
Fun.
When you find that kicker, you're like, hey, yeah.
I'm real happy. Yeah, it is.
Yo, it was good chatting though. It was good chatting. It's kind of getting late for me, man.
Oh, yeah. I really appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot. And we need to do this some other time. Do it some more and see, you know, maybe we can get some videos going and talk more about reselling, talk more about doing the estates, anything like that. I'm always open. Shoot me your email and I'll give you my number so you can call or text me.
Yeah, actually, yeah, definitely. We'll jump off the live broadcast there.